Hello and welcome. I'm Robert, and this is the Infield Fly Guys. Alongside me is Jose, and today we are going to break down baseball's East divisions. We will be going over the 2024 standings, keys, additions, subtractions, and wrap it up with our personal predictions, including who wins each division. Jose, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. These have been a lot of fun and can't wait to finish up this NL and AL East.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I guess we'll start off here then by breaking down the standings of each division, how they ended in 2024. So you obviously had your American League champion, New York Yankees, who won 94 games, lost 68, followed by the Baltimore Orioles, who were a playoff team with 91 wins. Red Sox right at 500, 81 apiece. Tampa Bay 80 and 82, and then rounding out the bottom there with the Toronto Blue Jays at 74 and 88. Anything surprise you about last year's standings?
No, I feel like especially the top part of that of the standings were basically how we pictured them. Blue Jays. I feel like a lot of people for the past few years have been higher on Blue Jays, and Blue Jays just never end up showing up. And
Mm-hmm.
the Yankees with Juan Soto, they 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 still felt a little top heavy in that lineup, and it did prove to be kind of top heavy.
Right.
Um, and the rotation, I felt, but that was enough to win you the AL East. So I, I I was not surprised by the final standings at all.
Yeah, and Baltimore kind of, I think they actually, in my opinion, overperformed a bit. I don't think I quite had them in second place last year. Those young guys really came out strong, and I definitely think they're going to come out even stronger this year. Now that they have a couple more years under the belt, I think they're going to be a real good team.
Yeah,
So
I would
it'll be
agree.
fun to watch for sure.
I would agree.
So that being said, moving on to the key additions for the division and subtractions, I should say. The New York Yankees, Jose, take it away.
So New York Yankees, we have they obviously they lost Juan Soto, but they did add Max Fried, Devin Williams, Cody Bellinger. Um, they also lost Verdugo and Rizzo. Replaced Rizzo with uh, Paul Goldschmidt, old NL Central guy for another old NL Central guy, and they did lose Nestor Cortez like we talked about in the uh, NL Central portion of the last episode as well.
So do you think that do you think the Yankees are going to still do pretty good this year? And we'll get to that in a bit. But do you think that's still going to have a good lineup to build off of and still be dominant in that division,
I feel
even though
like
losing Juan Soto?
right. So I feel like the bright side from the Yankee podcasters that I watch, that what they were talking themselves into after losing Juan Soto was like, okay, but now we're going to use this money. We're going to be a more complete team. I do feel like they ended up doing that to a point. You have Bellinger. Bellinger's not Juan Soto, but Bellinger's now lefty on that short porch. He could put up some
Mm-hmm.
big numbers. Um,
Yep,
uh, Goldschmidt for Rizzo, I feel like that's probably going to be about the
the
same.
same.
Probably a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more production from Goldschmidt because of Rizzo being hurt this past year and a half with concussions and all that stuff. Um, so I do expect Goldschmidt to bring more to the table than Rizzo, even if it's just marginal. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then you they did have a pretty solid rotation up until a week ago where they lost
Yep.
to. So you know stuff that I've seen. The I don't think it's the Yankees division to lose anymore because of these
Mm-hmm.
injuries that they have. I do feel like the Red Sox have taken a step forward, and the Orioles they didn't really do anything besides losing Corbin Burns. So
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be right there. I feel like the Orioles are a little bit more of a complete team than the Yankees as of now because of how that Yankees rotation, what's happened with the Yankees rotation. I feel like their lineup is a little bit more complete. More they don't have as high of maybe a ceiling. Some of their guys just don't have as high of a ceiling, but they're just more well rounded. And I feel like the same thing could be said with the Red Sox with the guys that they added.
Okay, so before moving on to the next team here, the Orioles, to discuss more about their additions and subtractions, do you think Rizzo's going to get picked up?
I feel like at this point, he's done.
Okay. Do you
Yeah.
think he'll stay a free agent and somehow get like swooped up at some point if somebody needs a first baseman or a DH?
I know that that's his plan. Interviews, and I saw like an interview where he talked about that he's going to keep himself ready for that situation. But I feel like he might be a little bit picky on what team he goes to, only because he's now him and his wife are now expecting their first child.
Hmm.
I honestly thought that he was going to be a lock to go to the Marlins
Okay.
because it's right there, and the Marlins just are trying to put butts in seats, and like
Right.
I mean, you have Rizzo, I guess. So um,
Right.
I
So okay, I mean, I kind of feel the same way. I kind of hope that he does get picked up just because he's a fun guy in the league, and I mean, obviously we all have a soft spot for him here because of his history with the Cubs. Um, but at the same time, I mean, if he's not really needed, why would you want to pick him up? So
yeah.
anyways, now to moving on to Baltimore to the Orioles here.
So yeah, notable acquisitions: Tyler O'Neill, who's turned the entire team into like a powerlifting team. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of them with their with their arm sleeves ripped off, but I mean, everybody's looking strong. They have Gary Sanchez now, Charlie Morton, Dylan Carlson, and Ramon Laureano. They did lose Corbin Burns, and they also lost Anthony Santander to our friends the Blue Jays. Eloy, who was only with them for a little bit. So yeah, what do you think about these moves?
I mean, I think kind of like what you touched base on a little bit ago. I think Baltimore is just going to be they're still going to be a dominant piece in the AL East, especially with those Yankee injuries. I think they're going to put up a hell of a fight to get that divisional crown.
Yeah, I think so too. Red Sox, who won third place, they made some moves. They got
Hmm.
Crochet, Bregman, Bueller, Chapman, who we touched on last episode. Ottavino's still around. They did lose Tyler O'Neill to the Orioles that we just talked about. They lost Kenley Jansen and catcher Danny Jansen. Any notes on them?
Nothing specific. I mean, I think getting Crochet is going to be a huge piece of that rotation. I think they'll be up in the running for the crown, but it depends if the Yankees can be as strong as they're expected to be, and if the Orioles play as how we just described it. I think the Red Sox they'll be right up there with them. They can be right up there with them.
I feel like the Yankees, for as much of a step back as it has been now losing Cole and Luis Gill for a little bit,
Hmm.
all of the moves, all of them that the Red Sox have made are going to affect them the same way. Does that make sense? Maybe that's a little bit too long winded. But like for as much as the Yankees have gone down, the Red Sox went up. So I do
Right,
feel like the Yankees are still better and they still have the guys that have done it already. But this Red Sox team could be fun.
I would agree.
We have
So next we got the Tampa Bay Rays.
our Tampa Bay Rays, who the way they do it, they don't really do much, and then for most of the year they're still competing. Uh, they picked up Danny Jansen, Ha-Seong Kim. I like the Ha-Seong Kim pickup. He
I
seems
do.
like
Yep,
that'd be a Ray type player. You
agreed.
have Eloy Jimenez, who's just trying to put like a solid year together without getting hurt. Um, I mean, really, they lost
I know. I
Jose.
don't. I mean to laugh at that, but yeah.
They really kind of flipped their teams pretty fast, right? All right, so with that, I think it's time to go to the National League.
The Blue Jays.
The Blue Jays. Oh, I forgot about
Next
them.
next move here, we gotta jump. Oh, we gotta go north of the border and talk about the Toronto Blue Jays here. So
Blue Jays. They added Anthony Santander, Jeff Hoffman, Max Scherzer. Okay, innings eater. Hopefully. Miles Straw from the Guardians, and they only lost a couple notable guys: Jordan Romano to the Phillies and Spencer Horwitz in a three-team trade, Pirates and Guardians. Uh,
mhm.
Real quick, uh, Blue Jays, like we said a little bit earlier, they were on some people's World Series favorite lists maybe just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and
Mhm.
it's largely the same group, right? You have your Bo Bichette, you have
Right.
your Vlad. There was a time there where they had like every single Major League Baseball player's son on that team, you
When
know,
they had Biggio, and the only
right?
guy they were really missing was Tatis Jr.
Right. So, but they just haven't been able to do it, you know. And then the Guerrero extension has been up in the air, and then not sure if that's gonna happen. Now I can see him now getting traded at the deadline, you know, to a contender. So I feel like they really kind of fumbled their opportunity. I mean, they lost that one wild card game to the Mariners a couple years ago, up
Mhm.
what 7-1 or something, like
Something like
eight
that.
one,
Yeah.
8-2. Like place got loud, as we know. Place
Very
place was
loud.
place was loud after that second Teoscar Hernandez home run. Pretty crazy. And then now we don't know their fate. So,
But only time will tell. So,
any notes on them?
nothing in particular. I mean, they're kind of like you touch base pretty good on that. I mean, they're just not the team that we expected them to be for as long as we probably expect them to be.
Right. So
So,
moving on to the NL East.
yep, we will touch these standings here. So, starting off in Philadelphia with the Phillies there, 95 wins, won that division. Then this division had two wild card teams. Um, you had the Atlanta Braves and the Mets were both 89 and 73. Um, then followed by the Nationals that were 71, 91, and then the 100 loss Miami Marlins. Um, Anything that sticks out to you from those standings last year that you weren't expecting, or it kind of seemed like it was going where the way you thought it would have played out for the East Division?
Without talking too much about what the predictions my what I'm going to talk about during the predictions.
Mm-hmm. More
The
for
Brave
2024. Did
right,
everything
right,
pan
right,
out
right,
for
right, right, right.
2024?
So that's what I was going to say. So
Okay.
the Braves still being able to win 89 games without a couple key pieces is the thing that sticks out to me the most.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They didn't have Spencer Strider, Ronald Acuna, right? He also got hurt,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and they still somehow put it together. And a lot of their guys were just spending time on the IL constantly. It's like they didn't have
Right.
their team full strength almost the entire year. Still ended up with 89 wins.
That's a park I'd love to get to down there. Is Braves' new stadium?
Right, truest, right?
Yeah, I
So
believe
that's
so.
really what sticks out to me the most. How about you?
Um, yeah, for that one, I think it kind of panned out the way I would have expected. I think I would agree with the Braves having the injuries that they did. I would have expected them to probably fall a little bit lower, but the fact, like you said, they've still put up 89 wins, and competed all the way to the end there. As they've only lost the division by 6 games. Um, really, uh, really good division, really tight division. It's going to be that way again, as we'll touch in a little bit.
So players in and out. 1 second. Let me just get back to this list.
Okay.
So we have starting. I'm just going to start with the Braves. Free agents that they lost: Adam Duvall, Whit Merrifield. They did acquire Jerickson Profar from the Padres,
Mm-hmm.
um, who I felt like he was going to stay with the Padres for as good of a season that he had. That
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't let him walk. Um, Especially a guy like that. The Padres love to trade people. They're constantly
Right.
trying to trade people. That's a guy that you can keep on your team, and then if you really don't, you can trade him, right?
He's
Instead of
always
just
got.
letting
There's
him.
always room for him. There's always room for him on your team.
Exactly.
Um,
They did lose Max Fried, obviously, to the Yankees, like we talked about a second ago. Jorge Soler, who we touched on in the AL West as he went to the Angels. Gio Urshela, Ramon Laureano. So they did lose a handful of guys. Travis Darno, who was with them for a long time. Um, but I don't feel like it was. I feel like the player that they're going to miss the most is going to be pitcher Max Fried.
I would agree with that. Obviously, you're going to miss Soler's bat a little bit. And you're going to miss a couple of these other guys, but I think more than anything else, they're going to miss Freed. They're going to really miss that once every 5 days.
So talking about the Marlins acquired Cal Quantrill, Eric Wagman, Matt Mervis from the Cubs. There was a little bit of time there that the Cubs thought that Mash Mervis, was going to be, that guy. He turned out to be more of a 4A player.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how much actual time we really gave him to develop, but wish him well.
Yep.
They did lose Jesus Luzardo on that trade with the Phillies. Cubs were also interested, and they didn't like the physical or the stuff with the medical situation, and they also lost Jake Berger to the Rangers. Anything on the Marlins?
I mean, I think it's going to be they're going to have another down year. I hope the best for Matt Mervis. I mean, he definitely has talent. He definitely could be a guy that could produce in the league. So hopefully he gets more of an opportunity to play in Miami and maybe makes a name for himself. So
Back to the Rizzo thing. You don't think you would want a guy like Rizzo to help Matt Mervis? Matt Mervis has like almost little to no like service time. He's there for the next 6 years. You get Rizzo for a
mhm.
year. He lives close. He can help mentor
I
him.
think I agree. I think
Why
having
not?
Rizzo on the Marlins would be beneficial.
It's like what else are you gonna do, right?
Right.
Mets free agents that they lost: JD Martinez, Brooks Raley. Obviously, big name Juan Soto. They bring Pete back.
Hmm.
Clay Holmes from the guys next door, the Yankees. Sean Manaea, they bring him back. Frankie Montas, AJ Minter, Jesse Winker, they bring him back. Jose Siri comes over. Stanek, and then you have like guys like Jared Young. They did
Hmm.
lose Luis Severino to the A's, kind of strange. Quintana to the Brewers, Bader to the Twins, Ottavino to the Red Sox, Iglesias to the Padres. Oh my God, and Phil Maton to the Cardinals. Uh, any notes on the Mets?
I mean, any team where you got Juan Soto on, it's going to be better. Um, I think having him and Pete Alonso in that lineup, that's a scary lineup. Any team that's doing a New York swing for their road trip is not going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah,
So, all those East Coast swing for a lot of teams is going to be pretty rough. If you're playing the teams like the Yankees and the Orioles and the Mets and the Braves all potentially in a road trip, you could really have some struggles there.
yeah.
So that's going to be a dangerous lineup for sure.
The only thing I question is the rotation, because
I would agree with.
you lost. I'm not saying Severino. I mean, Severino had a no hitter
Mm-hmm.
pretty late against the Cubs. Was it last year or the year before? Uh, Quintana and Severino, they didn't do terrible in the postseason, and
No,
they
not at
eat
all.
innings. I don't know why. At least replace them with somebody.
Right.
I mean, you got Clay Holmes, but Yankee fans weren't too big on him
Mm-hmm.
as a closer. Nationals, another team that's kind of going through it, and I don't know, some of these front offices, I don't know what they're doing. You can't you
Yeah.
can't be going through it for this long. Do something.
No, I agree.
Like
I agree.
you don't have to go through it for as long as some of these organizations have been going through it. Like like we've talked about before. It's just ownership. Like what are we doing? You don't need to keep losing. You can at
Right.
least be 500. So they got Nathaniel Lowe from the Rangers, Michael Soroka, Josh Bell is back, right? He
Mm-hmm.
was with them
Yep.
before. Is back. Trevor Williams back.
He signed. Yep.
Ahmed Rosario, Jorge Lopez, who I was surprised the Cubs didn't bring back as just depth because he didn't do very. He was fine with them in the bullpen,
Yeah, I agree.
and I
And
mean they
Paul DeYoung there too.
yeah Paul DeYoung, and then they lost Robert Garcia. For me, not much to say about Nationals. I hope that young core can start putting some stuff together because I think that that's what the front office is banking on. But
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think the Nationals they're just I think they're in a rebuild and they're kind of giving signs of being in a true rebuild. They're not coming off as being like like the White Sox or the A's, which are just tanking to tank. I think they're actually trying to rebuild. They're using some of these old guys in these short term deals to try and bring back to help develop and give time to develop these younger guys. So I think give them a couple of years. I think they'll be ready to go
yeah, the only thing I think of is like they've kind of been doing this since 2021
since they
when
won the
they
World Series in
well right, but like
2019.
so I just think of like when they traded Turner and Scherzer,
Hmm.
which was 21,
Right.
right? And really since then they've been like trying to do something. Um, so I don't know. It's been a while for the Nationals, and then in that division, you know, you got three other teams that are really trying hard. So we got the Phillies, who got Lazardo, Jordan Romano, Max Kepler, Joe Ross, and then they did lose Jeff Hoffman, Austin Hayes, and Carlos Estevez. Kind of quiet. I mean, you do get Lazardo, so that's pretty good. That's nice for the rotation, but
Hmm.
overall, pretty quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're just quiet. That's really all it is. I mean, Kepler's definitely gonna help them out a bit. Um, and then Joe Ross will add some depth, but just kind of didn't do too much. It'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see what the how that pans out. So.
What interests me is that a lot of those guys are on the last year of their deal, right?
Hmm.
I think Kyle Schwarber's on the last year of his deal. Castellanos, I'm pretty sure he's on. It was only a 3 year deal. So
Right.
some of these guys that have become impact at least playoff bats, it's like some of this core is starting to. It's going to be their last year with the team, assuming they don't
Right.
resign.
Right.
So that puts us through both divisions. So I think we're good for our standings predictions.
Okay. So let's go back to the American League here and start from the bottom up. How about you go first this time, Jose?
American League East, last place. I don't think it's a surprise. I'm going to go with the Blue Jays. I don't think they were able to put it together, and
I would agree.
I think they're just going to sell at the deadline, and that's going to be it for Vladdy Jr.
Yep, I think you're right. Unfortunately, they don't really have much drive to continue to be that piece. It's always nagging around in the AL East. So I think they're going to be down for a couple of years. Hopefully, get a good rebuild. And and come back in a couple of years and be dominant.
Yeah. Um, fourth place, I'm going to go with the Rays playing in a minor league stadium or spring training stadium, but
Hmm.
it's the facility where the Yankees play, right? Do
Hmm.
the Yankees have a AAA team down there too, or any minor league team down there? I don't know. Um, they might. My understanding is that it has the same dimensions as Yankee Stadium, so it also has a short porch,
Oh, right.
um, which I'm sure some Tampa players would like playing 81 games in a place that has a short porch as well. Probably any team does, but I don't see that them having enough to catch up with the Red Sox, Orioles, and Yankees.
I, I would agree. I have the Rays in fourth as well. My concern is actually quite similar in a different way to what I brought up about Oakland playing in a AAA stadium in Sacramento, or sorry, the Athletics playing in a AAA stadium in Sacramento. Oakland is not playing in Sacramento. This makes sense. the Athletics playing in AAA Stadium in Sacramento, um, and that is with the weather. I mean, those summer rains in Florida. I mean, just I wonder what kind of scheduling conflicts that could have if they get a lot of rainouts. I mean, are they going to see a lot of doubleheaders? It's going to be interesting.
Right. Yeah, it's a weird situation all around.
It
Uh,
is. It's very weird.
third place. This is where it starts to get tricky.
Hmm.
Because we did just kind of talk highly about all three of these teams.
Right.
Um, and I do feel like the Red Sox have made moves to improve, especially since they just won 81 games. Um, is it enough to pass the young Orioles? Um, I'm gonna say
That's tough.
yes. So
Mm.
I'm gonna say
Okay.
Orioles in third. I'm gonna say
Okay.
Orioles in third.
Okay. I still got Red Sox in third. I think they did a lot to get better, but I just don't think I think they'll increase their win total, but I just don't think they'll jump the Orioles. It'll be tough, but I think that the Orioles, see with that young core, will still be ahead of them.
Uh, second place. I'm gonna go Yankees. I'm gonna say that the Yankees don't recover and it just turns into a downward spiral, and then New York just New York fans go crazy after just making the the World Series one year and then falling second place to the Red Sox.
Okay, so you got the Red Sox in first and winning that division. Nice.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so I got actually, I do still have the Yankees winning that division. I have this division standings the same as I did, as same as 2024. Yankees and then Orioles in second. So I just don't. I still think the Yankees are just going to be too strong. I know they lost a couple of their pitchers and they did lose that big piece in Juan Soto. I just still don't think they're going to be a real strong team, and I still think they're going to edge out that division.
That is, I mean, they have the talent for it. And Luis Gill is only out for a couple months as of now, as of the recording of this
Mm-hmm.
episode. So yeah, I could see it. I could definitely
So,
see it.
all right. So then, with that being said, let's jump over to the National League East. Um, and uh, and let me just guess for you. You have the Braves in last, right?
uh, this one's a little bit easier. I think, I have Marlins in last.
Okay.
How about you?
Oh, same. I mean, I think looking at it, they may have gotten a little better, but I just don't think they'll do anything to be able to jump Washington, despite, Washington's very aging team.
Mm,
I would assume, if I guessed you correctly, you probably have Washington in fourth as well. So,
I do have
not to
Washington in
not to
fourth.
jump there, but that's kind of just how this
Yeah,
division plays
I
out.
mean
I mean,
that's kind of it's you have the top three, the three stronger teams, and then you have the two that are still trying to figure stuff out.
hmm.
In third place, I'm going to go with the Mets. I feel like it's starting to become a theme with
It's
everything
tough.
I say, but the pitching.
Hmm.
Similarly, last year, obviously they didn't have Juan Soto, but that team really had to play some really good baseball kind of out of nowhere. Um, it didn't look great even into June, and they really had to get on their stuff to even just barely make it into the playoffs. I mean, 89 games is not barely making it in. It wouldn't look like they just barely made it in, but like they had to go on a couple big runs to do it. Um,
So you don't think the magic of Grimace is going to take them to the
no, it has to be
playoffs
something
again?
different. You don't have Grimace anymore, and you don't have OMG. You need something else now. So, I mean,
You don't have Timmy Trumpet from a couple years ago either. So,
I know it's
um,
always something new, but like I don't doubt that they'll find something new. But as of now, no. I just think
it,
the Phillies continue to prove what they do, and yeah. Well, I'll let you say. Well, I guess you said third place Mets, right?
no, I
No, you
actually have
didn't.
I have the Braves in third place.
Okay, you have the
So
Braves.
despite the Braves, having um, a great season despite injuries, I still think that they're. I think the Mets just got better enough despite the pitching. I think the Mets are going to jump, and I think the Braves are going to taper back a little bit. Um, so I definitely have the Braves in third. And then I'll let you go ahead with your second first.
I have Phillies in second and Braves in first. Because
Got
I'm
it.
gonna go with
Well,
the opposite. I'm gonna say that Ronald Acuna and Spencer Strider coming back is gonna be huge, and it's just gonna add to that 89 win team.
okay. I think the Mets are going to take the division. So I think it's going to be close. So maybe they're going to be up with the fight. I think they're going to right around the deadline, and they're going to add some pieces to boost that depth, that pitching depth, and I think they're going to then make a run. I think Mets and Braves are going, or excuse me, Mets and Phillies are going to be 1-2. I think they're both playoff teams for sure. But I think the Mets will take the NL East division.
I mean, it'd be good for baseball for sure.
Mm-hmm. A little bit. It's always good that baseball has so much parity, and it's that's what makes baseball fun. You just don't see that quite as much in the other sports.
Hmm.
Um, so it's what makes it a lot of fun.
For sure. All right, so just to finish up, we have our AL East predictions. I have Red Sox, Yankees, Orioles, Rays, Blue Jays, and you have Yankees, Orioles, Red Sox, Rays, Blue Jays. And our NL East, I have Braves, Phillies, Mets, Washington Marlins, and you have Mets, Phillies, Braves, Washington Marlins.
Mm-hmm. You got it,
Hey,
sir.
anything else we forgot?
I think that's it.
Perfect.
So that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Go ahead and leave us a comment, give us a like, and subscribe. And see you next time.